Good evening, folks. Gotta find my actual agenda, sorry. But it being 5:30, let's call this meeting of the Planning Commission to order. Sorry. All right, first up, yeah, I guess I should have said, yeah, we have quorum, clearly. But anyway, yeah. Any adjustments to the agenda? I do not have any. All right. We can move on to approval of minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review minutes from our last September meeting, September 22nd? Are there any adjustments necessary to our minutes? All right. But here a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll move.
All right. Looks like say Amanda motion, Joe second.
Sure, that's fine.
All right. Yes, all in favor. And I realized or learned recently that if we're unanimous, we don't have to roll call when we are remote. So no pressure to be unanimous, but just explaining why. We'll give it a simple all in favor.
Aye.
Or we could do a hand raise
Okay.
too. That'll be fine. Yeah. And all opposed. All right. The motion is passed unanimously. Unanimously. Approve the minutes. All right. To item 4 for public comment. That's for if there's anybody here. But
No one here in council
Yeah.
chambers would be.
Nobody present for comment this evening. All right, on to old business. The first thing on our old business is to approve the resolution from council to apply for the bylaw modernization grant.
I move to approve that resolution.
Thanks. Do we have a second? Oh, that's a second from David. Motion from Amanda. Any discussion on this one? All right, having no discussion. All in favor of this, the motion to approve the. Go ahead.
Just a brief point of
Go ahead.
discussion. I just was glancing
Please.
at it again to triple check everything. It doesn't look like it has your signature on it.
It does not yet. I'm going to sign it once we approve it
Understood.
because I can't sign it as me. I have to sign it as us.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for noticing.
Sorry, you were about to call the.
Yeah, that's all
Emoji.
right. I was just waiting for my mind to settle, I guess. Right. All in favor of the motion to approve the resolution? Hands are fine, or eyes, whichever.
Aye.
Okay, great. All opposed? All right, our motion is approved. To be able to sign the thing. Next up, we can review the final draft, final-ish draft, if Janet has any last-minute changes to make for this application. It's due on Tuesday, so we're finishing it up in time. All right, so I guess that someone should probably screen share. Probably that's me, I guess, if Janet does not seem to have a computer in front of her, so I can.
I don't. I apologize.
That's okay. Yeah, just give me a second to get that sorted out.
Let me share while you're doing that.
Did we have a current version of the application? Just seeing the see the attachments to it, right? I might just not have saved it properly.
That's okay. It was part of the packet, but
Okay,
I
great.
can, well.
Oh, I just wasn't sure if it was updated from the
I received comments from both you and David. I have not had a chance to assimilate them.
okay. Very good. Just a moment. How would we, how do you recommend that we look at those comments if we don't have them? Okay. Well, I have mine. Could you, yeah. In what, David, in what form did you provide your comments? Are we basically, all right, this is kind of just like taking the temperature. David and I provided some of the content that will go into the application. Would we like as a commission to look at this content before Janet puts it together? Or do we say, Janet, you're going to do fine. Send us the send us the version that you submit. So this is just a question for what we want to review. Yeah, anybody go ahead.
Can I propose a process, which is that if we can get the application up and shared, then if you and David feel okay with sort of sharing when we look at each section, what your comments for that section are, and that may give other planning commission members, we may be able to sort of talk that back and forth, and other planning commission members may have feedback to offer at that on that same section at that same time. And we may rely possibly on Joe for a slightly expanded version of the minutes to tweak on that a little bit, because I know it's not in an editable format right now.
Right.
All
right. Well, David.
Yeah, the comments I provided weren't so much substance as just making the language read a little smoother, or at least I thought, just for what it's worth. So not a change in intent or something, just I thought some of the language was a little unclear, or you could just use a little tweaking. And I sent a word copy of that to Janet, and I have it on my computer. If I can I could probably send it to the planning commission now, or could get it on the screen somehow.
No, I think if what you're saying is it's just changes for clarity and legibility, I trust it. Yeah, I think that what I sent was before having looked at what Janet did, and so I'm not sure how that gets synthesized exactly. But anyway, I'm gonna get this ready so I can screen share. So just a second. Totally finding like the wrong emails. I'm sorry. This is like, keeping you guys waiting here for.
Michael, I've got it up right now, and it looks like
yeah, if you could screen share, that's awesome. Yeah, I was just, yeah, I don't know. I've got the wrong files.
Yep. Give me 2.5 seconds. All right. Let me zoom in a little bit for everyone. Why are
Yes,
you-
please.
Yep. Yeah, it's looking small on my computer too. I don't know why it keeps jumping over like that, but okay, minutes. Resolution, here we go. I feel like we probably feel all okay on the bullet point section. Okay.
Yep.
I will scroll down.
So do you want me to go through the things, the edits that I suggested, if I can figure out how to get on my screen here and minimize this? Let's see.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think that a lot of what I have is sort of, it's like alternative content, because I did it before I realized there was a, there was text in the, in the holes here. So it's a question as to whether or not Janet thinks it's worthwhile to put any of the stuff that that I did in. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, so I just did some edits to some of the narrative. I can go through those if it's helpful.
May I ask a quick question first, David?
Sure.
David and Michael, and I agree that, David, I think I would love to hear those. My question logistically for Janet is a space one. Is there room for more within these boxes, or once the words fill up the boxes, that's it?
Once the words fill up the box, that's it.
Okay, so we need to be very brief.
Yeah.
Some of my comments were like, we could talk about this more. So.
Yeah, no, what happens is it shows a side temperature bar, and I asked Jenny Lavoie, and she said what happens is when you go to print it, you don't see it. So they want it to fill in. They want it to be intent and fill the box.
Okay, all right, so
Yeah.
very brief. Thank you, Janet. Just wanted some context there. Sorry,
See the
David.
little thing underneath the responses to competitive criteria. It says, like, do not reduce font size.
Someone tried it somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, nothing that I changed is going to blow out through the boxes. They're just little things. So if you want me to go through them, I can. So under project description and summary overview, do you want me to just read what I wrote, or do you want me to just say exactly where I suggested edits?
I'd say
So the
just
first-
I was going to say just highlight the edits.
Okay, so first edit in the first sentence is it speaks of the Unified Development Ordinance and official map. And I just added the word of zoning, so official zoning map. Then the next sentence, I just changed to say, the study will conduct an examination of our community's preferences and needs and will identify ways to reduce barriers. So that's the only suggestions on that. The goal is just to make it read a little better. Does anyone have questions, or do you want to move through the sections that I did anyhow?
Yeah, I think we should just move through yours. I don't know what Janet's intent is in terms of mine, because it's just different text. So I don't know if there's any value in using it.
Well, there might be, and if we're not comfortable with the text that's there. But I just thought some edits would make it read better. Under community need was the next section. I had a few edits. And in that one, under the second sentence, it starts being able to expand housing options, such as co-housing, and I changed or to and. New development would benefit city greatly. So I didn't think it was an either or. I thought it could be both. Could be an and or, but I just figured and would cover it. The next sentence, the consultant could assist with review and proposed changes, and I just said two zoning ordinance provisions that may hinder new building. And then in the middle of that sentence, it says updating our zoning. I just started a new sentence there. So it says updating our zoning added in ways that continue to benefit great neighborhoods. And then and assist with meeting the goals of our municipal plan and achieve results. I think that was just taking a comma out of that. And then I think in the second to last sentence, housing needs assessment was just misspelled, corrected that. And the last sentence, now is the time to act on these revisions. Continues to sell, and I said and rent in the city. So it's not just that housing continues to sell, but also rents. Got to recognize that a majority of the residents in the city live in rental properties. So that was all in the community need. And in the public outreach, just added that one of the outcomes from the Vermont Council on Rural Development, and I added all in for Barry process, was creation of a housing task force. And then there were actually 5 subcommittees in the housing task force. So that's all, that was all that was there.
May I add a little bit to this section while we're in it? David, I don't mean to interrupt.
No, that's all, that's all that I had. So I really didn't have a lot. It just was intended to make things read a little smoother.
Thank you.
So that's it.
So, Michael, do you mind if I don't, you tell me, do you want to call on us or do you want me to jump in?
You can go ahead, I think. Were you asking David or me?
You, I think.
Okay,
Just-
yeah. Sorry, I made a gesture for you to go, but I think you couldn't see me. So, yeah.
You're very small on my screen. Right?
Ah, sorry about that. Yeah, go ahead.
Gesture. In this section, so specifically in the public outreach section, it asks for it asks us to specifically identify stakeholders impacted and any underserved, historically discriminated, underrepresented, cost resource and lower resource populations in the community. I think that there might be it might be useful to put in a sentence here talking about some of the specifics to Barre City's housing needs. For the white paper, and granted this was 2 years ago, so it does not take into account 2022 inflation, right? But for the white paper, we ran some statistics on how many people in Barre City were cost burdened in their housing, and also pulled some federal statistics. You know, the statistics that usually gets used is that 23% of residents in Barre City are at or below the poverty level. I don't know that we have a statistic about the turnover in terms of rental units, but some kind of sentence that encapsulates Barre City's population is especially vulnerable to a lack of quality affordable housing in a number of ways, and then gives a couple of statistics like 23% of Barre City's population is at or below the poverty level. X% of Barre City's population is already cost burdened by the housing that they are able to find. And we know that historically, the turnover in housing in Barre City is such that vulnerable populations have difficulty finding quality, affordable housing within the city. Some kind of statement like that felt appropriate for the section, but totally willing to get shot down if other commissioners don't feel that way.
David?
Yeah, there is in the white paper that the Housing Task Force just issued. There is some kind of information of that, the same that the Planning Commission has, but then an update. There's not updated data, but there are some updates. So the HUD allowable rents went up quite a bit, which will create more housing challenged households, because the maximum rent allowed for assisted housing has gone up. And because that rental cost is based on a 3-year average rolling average rent in the county and in the city, it's not even capturing the bulk of what's going on right now. So over the next couple of years, unless they change the formula, it's going to get a lot worse. So that's just there is a little, maybe Janet can grab something from that, or maybe having that attachment will provide a little bit of that kind of information.
If I write a quick sentence, Janet, and email it to you that encapsulates some of these things, I mean, I'll write it out and then read it to the commission and then email it to you, Janet, is that a useful way to get it to you?
Incredibly so, thank you.
Okay, I'm opening an email right now. I'm gonna,
Seriously, and otherwise I'm gonna end up having to listen to the recording to
Nope.
capture the point and the substance.
Opening it up right now. Here's what I'm gonna write. I'm gonna type it first because I can't write and talk. So let me give me just a moment and then I will talk it out.
Certainly.
While you're typing also, I think, Janet, that the Berry Area Development Corporation sent a letter of support for the grant. I don't know if that's something that's useful to put in as an attachment or mention somewhere.
Yep, it's funny you say that. I remembered that this afternoon because it was sitting on the corner of my desk, so I need to add that as an attachment.
If Amanda needs another minute, I also had a question about the budget, which we skipped over. There,
Yeah,
in
go
one
ahead.
place it says the budget is $25,000 and in another place it says the budget is 27,500. And so just wanted to flag that because I think those should be consistent.
So it's a grant for $27,500. What happens is, we put together costs for 25. Our match is 2,500. So the grant will be written for a total of 27,500. If we get it all done before the grant expires and in fact council adopts it, we then do not need to, we essentially, the match isn't included. But if it goes beyond the time that the council takes to adopt any changes that come out of this exercise, then it would be included. So right in the directions, this is the way you're supposed to write it. So I appreciate the confusion. I had to double check it myself several times.
Okay, that totally makes sense. There's just two total numbers and one says total must equal total above and those numbers don't equal each other. That's what caught my eye. On page 2.
Right.
And maybe it's referencing a different total number because on page 1 there's another total number.
The grant fund requested is 25. The match for 25,000 is 2,500. So the total project cost will be 27,500. So if you look at the budget, the itemized work plan equals 25. Then there's the local match, which is 10%, so 2,500. And then the grant funds requested is the 25,000 from above. And the total must equal total above, meaning 2,500 plus 25,000.
I do think this is maybe worth clarifying slightly because if the total cost of it is 25,000 of all of the the work plan and budget, what is the local match paying for?
I think that total of the itemized one should be 27.5. I agree.
Yeah, I think,
I think that's what I'm trying to flag.
Yeah,
Or that the total request is smaller.
I think the total, yeah, the itemized total should equal the total, and of that, 2,500 is coming from the city and 25,000 is coming from the state.
To throw another wrench in it, I finished writing. I'm also reading that as if we increased the itemized budget to 27,500, then we have to increase the match to 2,750 because it's supposed to be 10% of. So I think actually the more accurate read is that the grant fund requested needs to go down by $2,500. That the total project cost is $25,000. 10% of that is a city match of $2,500, which means we are requesting from the state 25,000 minus the local match of $2,500. That is a very confusingly written budget sheet. I'm sorry, Janet. That's
So what it says in the instructions, single municipalities may apply for a grant of any amount between $2,500 and $25,000. A group of, let's see. So your single municipality application, total project clock cost, including match, max is 27,500. Your grant award is 27,500. Total grant paid to municipality at closeout is 27,500. But then you read further and it says, there's the timeline that says, if you get it done, projects that are not adopted prior to closeout will have the required 10% cash match reduced at grant closeout. So if you think I've interpreted the 25 and the 27,500 wrong, by all means, tell me how you feel. Otherwise, I'm gonna call the woman at the state tomorrow, because that's the way I interpreted it. That's all.
I would call the state, because they're the ones who get to decide. We don't get to decide, so just make sure it's done to comply with what they want to see. To maximize the grant, to maximize our grant.
Okey-dokey.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with David. Do we have a sentence, Amanda?
We have 2 sentences. Sorry, I didn't
Alright.
make sense as one. You ready?
No, that's all right. Hit us.
Berry City's population is especially vulnerable to the statewide housing crisis. 23% of Berry City lives at or below the poverty level, and X% are cost burdened in their current housing situation, parentheses, spending X% or more monthly on their housing. And I'll fill in those X's after the meeting. In addition, Berry City has a high rental rate, meaning many residents are especially in need of quality, affordable rental housing, something especially scarce in the current crisis.
One addition to that is Berry's rental rates are actually lower than county and statewide averages. Berry City has very low rates, but it has even lower income residents. So probably has to, and I think the housing burden is over 30%.
Yeah, I think it's 30% too.
It's 30%, and I think there's another statistic which might be relevant, which is it's not an insignificant number. I don't remember what it is, but it's in the Housing Task Force white paper. Is there's also a good portion of the population where their rent is more than 50% of income, which is pretty dramatic number. Again, both the 30 and 50% numbers in Berry are much higher than statewide and county averages. And I don't know if we have to say they're higher than that, because the people at the state will know that, but throwing those numbers in there would probably be a pretty good illustration of the challenge. And I can find those numbers real quick if you want me to.
I would appreciate that, David. So in incorporating I'm trying to just understand and incorporate what you just described to me about the rental rates. If I'm understanding you correctly, the average unit rental cost in Berry City is slightly lower than county and state averages, but our rate of poverty is so much higher that still represents a cost burden.
That's correct.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find this quickly, and got the white paper. It's in your attachments, but I probably can find something. So let's see here.
While David's looking for that, let me reread. I just incorporated some of his thoughts into this statement, so let me read it back to the group. Berry City's population is especially vulnerable to the statewide housing crisis. 23% of the population of Berry City lives at or below the poverty level, and X% are cost burdened in their current housing situation, parentheses, spending 30% or more monthly on their housing, semicolon. In fact, X% pay more than 50% of their monthly income on housing, end parentheses. In addition, Berry City has a high rental rate, meaning many residents are especially in need of quality, affordable rental housing, something especially scarce in the current crisis. Though Berry City's average unit rental rate is lower than community and state and county and state average, our high rate of poverty means that more of our citizens are cost burdened by their housing, are still cost burdened by their housing.
So I did find it. So 43% of residents pay more than 30% of their income towards housing costs.
Thank you.
And
That's a big number.
also, 20% of Berry City households paid more than 50% of household income.
God. Yep.
So,
Thank you.
so 23% are between 30 and 50, and 20% are more than 50. And that's because even though the rents are lower, the income, the Berry's median household income is 38,142 versus 61,973 statewide. And for renters, it's 26,000 roughly as compared to 36,000. So even though the rents are lower, the incomes are even so much lower that they result in a large proportion of the renters paying more than what's considered a reasonable amount of their income for housing.
In our last proposed sentence, it sounds like we're saying two contradictory things about rental rate. And so we might mean two different things, but it says our rental rate is high, and then it says our rental rate is low.
Yeah, I need to find a better word than rate.
Yeah, well, the rental rents are high relative to income, which is what's illustrated by that 30 and 50%. Rents are
think-
low compared to, in spite of that, rents are lower than the surrounding area.
It seemed to me like the intent was, the first part was to say, we have a higher percentage of renters.
Yes, that's what it meant. So high percentage of renters is the better way to phrase it. High percent. I'm just gonna write Berry City has a high percentage of renters. I agree, Michael, you were right that rate, I was using rate in two different ways that we're going
Okay.
to cause. So, okay.
Yeah, 50,
Janet, just for your purposes, sorry.
I was gonna say, if you want numbers,
Janet, for your purpose, glanced back over, and I think these sentences will fit into the available space in that section just fine.
so if you want statistics, 53% of Berry households are renters compared to 29% statewide. In Washington, yeah, and in Washington, yeah. And in Washington County, actually, it looks like the 71% of housing is owner occupied.
I just dropped
This
that in a quick parentheses.
Which is consistent with the 29%. Anyhow, yeah, it's almost twice as many households in Berry are renters compared to statewide.
Well, it seems to me like this is a very valuable bit of context to add for the application.
That's sort of why I wanted to, it feels like an extra, like, no, really. Here are lots more reasons why we have a bigger challenge to solve and why we need your support to solve it.
Yeah, in theory, this should be the part that says, well, now they look at it and say, this is a no-brainer.
Okay, thank you all for bearing with me with that additional sentence. Janet, it's in an email right now, and I'm gonna sit out until the end in case we want to write anything else in it, but I'll send it to you.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
David, you said that was all you had?
That was all I had.
Um,
Part of me saying, man, we really shouldn't say that walking and biking anywhere isn't easily completed effort. But
Yeah, I had that question.
all right,
You might maybe at least take the easily out.
A lot of hills.
Easy,
That's,
easy
that's
for
mostly
you.
what I was thinking is, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I'll go wherever, I suppose, but, yeah, yeah. What would we make it?
Simply completed. I don't know, that's terrible. Sorry, don't do that.
We could just say, any sector of the city is walkable or bikeable.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's probably better than just leaving the qualifier out and just saying it's possible, but not really. We don't
Yeah,
really need to
'cause-
say it's easy.
Right, we don't, I mean, it's, right. Sorry, we're assuming
It's-
too much about the abilities of of people who are moving around and, obviously most of our city is accessible, some of it's not.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think just saying it's possible, I think is fine.
Yeah. Seems good to me.
Yeah. Works for me.
I like what Michael wrote in his draft and could very easily fit in as a second paragraph under,
I can read that, sure.
yeah.
I was kind of just letting my stuff say, just saying, well, I don't know, it's another draft, let's let it die. But yeah, I'll get to that page and let's see. All right, yeah. This one says for me, it says, this project will focus on unlocking infill residential development within Berry City's existing street network by scaling density to reflect existing patterns of development in Berry City neighborhoods and nearby development in adjacent municipalities. The focus will be on the residential neighborhoods closest to Berry City's downtown and corridors, which connect to denser development outside city limits. For one example considered by the Planning Commission along Beckley Street into Berrytown. But
I think
obviously,
we should-
oh, go ahead.
I think we should be more general.
Yeah, and that's what this is what I'm thinking is this focuses on infill, and I think that possibly if there's a if there's a reason for the grant funder to want to fund infill specifically, maybe there's a reason to include that. But I think possibly just the first sentence, maybe, if we were going to include that at all, which just says like reflect existing patterns of development and nearby patterns of development.
That makes sense. I
Right.
just don't want to emphasize infill when there might be other opportunities. They might not make sense, but if the review is broader, that can address those things, whether they make sense or not.
Can we hedge it by just saying one example would be?
Well, I don't think we even need an example necessarily, right? Or at least that what David was saying is like, let's leave out the example. But I'm not convinced that adding this will add value to the application. I was just
I think we've got the space and I think it demonstrates that we've thought about this deeply. I always am in
Alright.
favor of providing a well-described example if we have the space.
Well, I don't give an example really. I mean,
You an example of one type of thing that would be.
oh,
example.
I see. Yes, yeah. Cool. Well, I can read the first sentence again. And then I can send that in. Or actually, I guess Janet has it already, but
Can you read it again, just so
I certainly
we're
can.
clear?
This project will focus on unlocking infill residential development within Berry City's existing street network by scaling density to reflect existing patterns of development in Berry City neighborhoods and nearby development in adjacent municipalities.
Yeah, I'm still concerned about focusing only on infill.
Right. One potential area of focus.
Yeah, or a significant major focus or something like that, but not
Mhm.
to
Right.
preclude other things.
An example of a potential area for focus would be.
Yeah, that would work.
You're
Just put that.
talking about changing his, including his second sentence and.
I think just-
being more broad.
I think just the first sentence, but it's changing the beginning of it. So it says, oh, now I forgot, Amanda, a particular area of
An
focus
example,
maybe.
an example of a potential area of focus would be. creating infill development, etc.
Example of a potential,
Oh, I've got it. I can send it to you, Janet.
great.
Yeah. Now it reads, an example of a potential area of focus would be unlocking infill residential development within various cities' existing street network by scaling density to reflect existing patterns of development in city neighborhoods and nearby development in adjacent municipalities.
I think that's good.
I took out the second Berry City because it gets kind of like,
No, really, city, not town.
yeah, well, I mean, like I feel like saying city gets it across, but saying Berry City like 3 times in a row gets a little jangly, Yeah, also Berry City comes out of your mirror and never mind.
This is a very 4 days till Halloween conversation.
I
Right,
know, I
right,
know.
right.
Sorry,
But
everyone.
Microsoft Word does not like it when you capitalize city.
No, it does not.
Well, most of the time don't. If you just put it by itself, it's a lowercase. It's not a proper
Right.
noun. And I can,
But if it's the city, then you're talking about a
Then you
specific
don't.
one.
well, I don't know. It depends on your style guide. Yeah.
Yes,
Anyway.
Alright. I'll send that. I'll send that sentence in.
The rest of it is all fairly straightforward.
Pro forma, though it does make us look like, hey, we should have one of those neighborhood development areas, huh? Because we can check more boxes.
I think that's the idea.
Yeah, I know. We should put it on a future list.
So it's not something the planning commission can work on them yourselves, but it's
Right.
something that I would do. But if you recall, I think we had this conversation a couple of years ago. I've already had the initial consultation with the state about an NDA. And our problem is right now, based on our terrain, our NDA would look like Swiss cheese. Here's a neighborhood, here's a neighborhood, here's a neighborhood. And then contextually, we'd have to get them all together, like connect the dots without seeing the connection. And it's been on my to-do list, so don't worry, it's not dropping off the table at all.
Right. Well, maybe there's a grant for that. So
Okay.
anyway, one of these days.
Janet, I'm gonna hit send on this email since it sounds like we have wrapped.
Well, what was the section I was just looking at? The project location, right? Yeah, okay. Make sure. Put that in the email.
Yes.
You guys get to hear my super loud keyboard.
Can't hear a thing.
Oh, good. Hey, noise cancellation is amazing.
Mhm.
All right. Well, did anyone have anything else to add to our application? I want to add thanks to Janet for putting this together and to everybody for, giving eyes and input to it.
Yes, I'm appreciative of everybody's eyes on this. It never hurts to have many eyes before we send something off.
I didn't have any other additions, but I did want to notice a minor typo under
go
the
for it.
community needs section. I think under the at the bottom of the first main page. I just noticed that as we were looking through it. And assessment is assess minute, so that second E can be deleted. Or I guess not the second E, the third E technically, I guess.
yeah, I think that was in the stuff I sent to Janet. But
Okay,
she
good.
should
So
make
that's all
sure-
set.
But she should make sure.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I just happened to see it as we were looking at it. So if it's
Thank you.
already
My
noted,
fingers
that's fine.
work like that all the time.
There are certain words that I cannot type correctly, so it's similar. It's like I always type it wrong. Even when I get it in my head the right spelling, I just type it wrong and I have to go back and fix it.
But once you type it often, it looks what you think you typed, not what you typed.
That too. But yeah, there's just certain words I am incapable of typing correctly, even though I can spell them correctly. Something in my brain is not wired right. Well, probably a lot of things, but
Oddly for me,
Difficult.
my own name is one of those lately.
oh, interesting.
Well, I hope the misspelling is a comical one, so you can enjoy it.
It's random capitalization that
Yeah.
just getting weird. Anyway, long story short, do we feel like we're ready for me to stop sharing?
Yeah, in both senses.
Yeah.
But okay, all right. Sorry. Where was I? Oh yeah, thanks. I think we're good for getting this together and getting a signature on it, and Janet will send it off to the state.
Do you
All
need
right.
any formal approval from us for
That was
this?
the last thing we did.
For the resolution?
Well, yeah, to approve the resolution, I thought I think that's the thing that lets me sign it.
Okay,
Yeah,
Yeah,
Janet's
it
nodding.
Pretty
So,
much
yeah.
says the planning commission is good with sending this grant application in by authorizing your chair to sign it.
Yeah, because really Janet is the person who is creating the document. So we're giving input, but like, she makes the document and then, I sign it based on everybody saying yes. There's room for malfeasance here, totally, but we're gonna do our best to not malfease. All right. Anyway, next up.
Thank you,
All right.
everyone.
Thank you. New business. Municipal planning grant is the one thing that we have here, and this is more money to be able to do some specific, not too big planning activity. And I have in my head a thing that would be good to do, but I guess I didn't look through all of our options in terms of like what's in our plan that we need a next step plan for, because there's like a ton of things that we could do, the next chunk of more detailed planning that will make it possible for, engineering or construction work to start happening. And anyway, like I said, I didn't put all those in my brain. The thing I was thinking is the 2012 Summer Street plan has a bunch of streetscape and pedestrian improvements for Summer Street and Elm Street. And right now we can't really consider doing them because they are basically conceptual in nature. They're not detailed enough to make, to say like, here is the plan for what these intersections are going to look like. And specifically, we don't have a traffic impact study for making changes, and that it gets in the way of actually doing the stuff. So that was what I was thinking of. Perhaps I should look at what's in the municipal plan, or if Janet has like alarm bells ringing of something else that we should consider. The deadline for this one is December 1st, so obviously we don't have a lot of time to to figure it out, to wrangle it. And also, I forget what the maximum funding is for it, but I thought it was in the like $30-ish thousand. So it's not like it's not a huge, we can't do a large project with that. Go ahead, David.
yeah, just kind of a general question slash thought is, I would love to be able to apply for a grant, but I'm concerned that the city doesn't have the bandwidth both to prepare an application and then carry it out in any, reasonable time frame. So I'm just throwing that out as a.
Well, I mean, which part do you see as being blocking?
Well, there would be just over a month to prepare a grant application. And Janet is busy with a lot of stuff. And then the other is, if the grant did come through, somebody has to manage it. And given that we have a zoning bylaw modernization project we want to take on, and I don't know what else might be going on in the city, I just want to make sure we're not, just applying for grants that we're not really going to be able to carry out and don't have the staffing to manage it and follow it through. So it's a bandwidth question.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like we're in a difficult spot where that is. I mean, if we said we can't do it because we don't have the staff bandwidth, but we don't have the resources to get, other other people to work on stuff, it's hard to get things done. And I feel like, the grant to pay a consultant to do, to do the work, there is definitely some, there is management overhead, but it gets a thing done with, somebody who's, somebody outside of City Hall is doing most of the work. So I think, if Janet says this can't happen, then, that this is, that's our discussion, I feel like, because obviously like this particular buck does stop with her. But if, I guess this is an opening for Janet to weigh in.
Yeah, this was my nice way of asking that question.
All right, go for it. Yeah.
Well, you know where I'm at. Most part of me is, I don't want to lose any opportunity. And I'm learning to say no a lot and very quickly and very frequently now. I think with this particular opportunity, if in the next couple weeks, we could nail down, if anyone else has any ideas of a planning grant other than what Michael has suggested. The one thing that I'm specifically, I think about with the Summer Street plan is, a long time has gone by, right? We have a totally different council. We have a traffic study that was done as part of the TIF plan. I'm sorry, that was a parking plan, not a
Right.
transportation study. I would want to be sure that the council buys in on our desire to keep poking away at the 2012 Summer Street plan. I'm not opposed to putting a grant application together by any means. But December 8th, whatever the deadline is coming fast. And I am taking a week off for Thanksgiving, and I will be unavailable, right? I'm gonna do a lot of sleeping over in New York. I just don't want to lose this opportunity, that's all. And so I'm all for it, for sure.
Rosemary, go ahead.
Hi, is there any way we could spend some time looking at the Summer Street plan? I mean, 2012, that's 10 years. Does it still, does it still apply? I mean, should we consider changing it, updating it?
We do want to update it. But there are elements of it that are worth pursuing as they're adopted. Sorry, I'm not gonna, Amanda, we'll loop back to this. Go ahead, Amanda.
I agree with Rosemary that it would be nice to look at it in more detail at the planning commission, but I think that to answer those concerns, what we could write the grant to say is, we have this 2012 plan. It's, it suggests a lot of really great ideas. What our grant would be is to update it conceptually, and then to move it into a planned stage so that we can improve. Summer Street's right near where I live. It's terrible. Anything we can do to improve the streetscape and the traffic patterns of Summer Street is going to be a huge net benefit to the city. So I think that if we write the grant as saying, yeah, we understand this was written 10 years ago. We understand that what we're going to need is someone to help us reconceptualize it and then put it into a more concrete format, which will include a traffic impact study so that we can propose it. I think that that's a very achievable grant. Say this is something we know still has needs, but we need to update those needs and the way it meets those needs for our present moment.
Yeah, I think that you're correct. I think updating that plan might be a better way to even look at it, since updating that plan is in the municipal plan. So, I mean, it says, hey, that plan is old, let's fix it.
And Rosemary, that plan is actually on the website. So if you go.
Thank you.
And I can email it out to folks as well, but that's one of the things that, is a significant worth of time, a chunk of time that got done. And it's a plan and it's something that's important, so. So we do that.
Well,
So
Um,
I'm sorry.
oh, go ahead,
So
Joe.
the article that's on the website, I was just calling up and looking at it for a little bit. So that was written in 2012. Has it been, is this last updated as of around then as well, or has it gone through any changes at all since then?
Zero changes,
Okay.
as David is shaking his head. Yeah, it is exactly as it was.
Okay. Yeah, the context helps there, so yeah. And you're not kidding about the council. I list the council at the time, and I think only one person, I don't even recognize most of the names. Well, Lucas and Michael Booton, but I don't even know most of these people.
So here's what I propose, since we're going to meet in 2 weeks. And we have to meet in 2 weeks because of the thing that I attached at the end of the packet. If anyone has any other ideas, and what I can do is you saw that I included the I guess they call it an info sheet from the planning grant that kind of touts what they do. I can dive into the application and outline for everybody what kind of things could be approved under the planning grant and send them out. So we can solidify something perhaps in 2 weeks, or whenever is the next time we meet. If it's 2 or 3 weeks based on the calendar, I don't know. November 10th. What do you think about that?
Oh man, my brain just deleted everything. I was gonna say it
That
sounds good,
sounds
and then it went out. It like just left. Yeah, that sounds good to me. David, then Amanda.
Yeah, so is the deadline for the grant application is December 1st or
December
the end of
1st, yeah.
December?
December
So-
1st.
And Janet's going to be gone the week before that.
Yeah,
So this is
what-
gonna, this is
It's
gonna
a tight-
be a challenge for, if there's a resolution from the city council needed, and finding out if they even think this is a good idea. And then getting the grant written and give us a chance to do it. I'm not saying it can't be done again. I'm just saying it's a very tight window.
well, I want to try to
Council-
fill. Oh, go ahead, Janet.
Council is not meeting on the manager has proposed reduction to council meetings back to 2 times a month. And I don't
Okay.
believe that they are meeting, what is the week before the 15th?
8.
Yes, they are not meeting on the 8th. So.
It's pretty quick to, was there much conversation around the resolution to apply last time?
I'd have to look to see if it has the same components. You don't think it does?
I
Uh,
I think they were saying it's short. So, oh, sorry, I don't want
Yeah,
to speak for everyone.
exactly.
Yeah, I don't recall there being any, I think it was in the consent agenda, wasn't it, Janet?
That was very quick.
Yeah,
Yeah, we try to treat these kind of things as pro forma, but they still need to get on based on the grant policy. The council has to give the blessing to apply.
Yeah, I recognize it's a tight timeline, but I think we want to try to fill the pipe if we can for those things. So it's,
Yeah,
But
I
if we-
agree,
if we-
but
yeah, in terms of preparing the application, I will, I'll help do that to make sure that we've got something that we can, that we can apply with. To reduce the impact on Janet during that time. Is your hand up, Janet?
No, I'm sorry, I was rubbing my
Okay.
eye.
No, sorry. It's just that
Eddie.
the owl turned back to you, and then it looked like your hand was up maybe. So I just wanted to make sure I wasn't just like ignoring you for a while. Speaking of which, Amanda.
I just want to do the thing where we look at the calendar real quick and just make sure we're on the same page with timing. If the next if the next feasible council meeting to approve a resolution and make sure that they're comfortable with us revisiting and updating this 2012 plan is November 15th, then that would have us moving this forward at the Planning Commission meeting on November 10th, which is the 2 weeks from tonight. Which, so we would have to get something on council's agenda, before that Planning Commission meeting. So we would have to make a decision tonight. I'm just trying to back this up appropriately. We would have to make a decision tonight about, basically, we have to make a decision tonight to get it in front of council on November 15th. If they're not meeting the 8th, it's too late for November 1st. November 29th feels like cutting it way too close.
Yes.
So, in
Yeah,
order to get something before council, we gotta decide tonight, basically.
yes, I think that you're right.
So what's gonna happen if I can't get to this? What do I need to say to you folks that say, I just lost my mind and I just can't work this in?
You can just tell me that, or you can tell us that. I think we're basically like, our interest is to try to get the stuff moving, but in the end, if you're saying we can't do this one, that's the call. That's fine.
Okay.
Amanda?
And what's the current turnaround for council packet items? Is it by the end of day Wednesday?
Nicholas firms up the agenda Wednesday at noon, because he and the mayor meet sometimes Wednesday morning, but no later than Wednesday evening.
So that,
he's accelerated everybody's timelines.
which
So.
is,
That's
Probably-
helpful.
it's gonna play out better in the long run, but for us in this moment,
Not so much.
that takes another day, that takes us another day back and means that, Janet, you would have to yank this, I would think by end of day Tuesday, November 8th. Right? So that we don't put it forward to go into the agenda on Wednesday morning, November 9th. And then we would know for the packet on, I know, I'm sorry, this is all feeling fiddly, but I think it's helping us like
It is.
figure out.
And that seems right based on all the things that we know.
Okay. So I feel comfortable as a commissioner, leaving it up to communication between Janet and the chair by end of day on Tuesday, November 8th. As to, yep, you know what, we're gonna push this forward and we'll talk about it at our November 10th meeting, or nope, we're gonna, there's just too much going on. Janet's overwhelmed, we're not gonna add to her plate. Let's move on to the other things. So I feel comfortable that as a commissioner, with that being a decision between the chair and Janet, by end of day on that 8th, Tuesday, the 8th. Just to toss that out there. I don't know if we need a formal resolution. I just felt like should sum it up.
David?
Yeah, I'm fine with that as well. That's also the day that our planning commission agenda has to be posted, so it all it's either gonna happen or it's not.
Yeah, that's true. If we have an erroneous agenda, it's not the end of the world. But
No, it just,
yeah, but you're right.
the
Yeah.
timing is
Mhm.
that's kind of how it's supposed to work.
I'm fine with that approach too.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll do our best, and if if it's impossible, it's impossible. Was there anything that we wanted to talk about the municipal planning grant? I know we have materials in the, we'll learn, we can read the stuff that's in the packet and learn more next meeting in terms of how it could potentially impact us. Seem fair? All right. Woo. Well, if it's now hanging over our heads, which is to say me and Janet, then we can be done with that item. And move on to staff updates. I didn't,
My bullet items are just those that popped into my head as much as I could let you know everything that's going on. What I do want to draw your attention to is the last bullet item as well as the notice that I attached on the end. So. Those of you who know Allen Street, there's farmland out there that was purchased 2 years ago by Encore Development. And then October 13th, I get an email communication from them, which is a 45-day advance notice that they want to put this solar field out there. So we do not have an advanced energy plan in our municipal plan. We have things that we can suggest and ask of them. I think it would behoove us to invite Encore to come do a presentation. They also need to come in front of the Regional Planning Commission, of which I'm on the Project Review Committee. They have to go to the Regional Planning Commission. We need to understand the size of their solar field. I don't believe they're net metering, so I don't know that this would impact their development, even if we did have a specific energy plan. But I think that we should invite them to a meeting, at least so everyone is aware, and hopefully we can get other people that comes to our meeting. So they learn about this potential project.
Rosemary.
Sorry, my things aren't working. I thought this was in Berrytown. Allen
I think-
Street, isn't it up?
Not this
No.
parcel.
Are you
Almost.
Really?
Part of it.
Street where the new
Really?
You go past the new school, and then there's the apartment building on your right,
Yeah.
field out and
Oh,
around
God. Wow,
Berrytown line.
got it. Because I knew there was one being built above that. But okay, so it is in the city. I was wondering like, okay, why are they letting us know? Oh, now I
Yes.
know.
Yeah, this is another one.
Wow. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Beautiful piece of land.
Mm-hmm.
Quite wet in the back, so I find it interesting. I think they're going to put solar panels and things there, but. So what are your thoughts?
Can I ask what the role of the planning commission is in this process?
You need to understand, the planning commission is a required component, even though we don't have much we can hold their feet to the fire on, other than we can ask them to follow our zoning regulations and put up the screening and the buffers that we want. But part of the 45-day advance notice requirement is to go to the planning commission, because you as the commission are the planning entity, the municipal plan, the zoning ordinance.
And so do we have, are we approving their plan? I guess, like, do we take some sort of action?
No.
I'm seeing heads shaking.
It's one of
No.
those things that is probably gonna happen whether we like it or not. So we need to ask them to respectfully comply with what we've got in our zoning.
Maybe we should work on that.
Oh,
I mean, no,
David-
seriously, are you
David's-
kidding? Wow.
David's got his hand up. David.
There's been litigation in other communities about this kind of stuff, and it has not gone well for the municipalities. Or if it has, it's been years and a huge amount of money spent. And those are in communities that have the more detailed plans. So it's
Yeah,
it's pretty tough road.
Yes, you're right. They basically can thumb their nose when they get the PUC, that it's whatever the energy, that acronym is, they basically have carte blanche over communities. Doesn't matter what the zoning says. If they can get their certificate of public good. I went to, as an example, I went to the public hearing for the Berry Town substation improvement. And if you recall, they had to create a substation on the Berry City property next to the nursing home. And I went and I basically was told, you can't talk, it doesn't matter. Thanks for coming, but never. I don't care for the authority that they've given in the manner that they've given. We all appreciate energy savings, right? It's become a little bit more controversial, unfortunately. But regardless, how do you all feel about inviting Encore to come give their spiel? And if you don't want them to come to you, what I can do is ensure that you are all invited to be able to attend the Regional Planning Commission meeting where they have to give their presentation. So you've got an option.
I think having them come and talk to us, that seems fine. Amanda? Oh, you're still muted.
Yep. 2.5 freaking years. I agree with that, I would like them to come and talk to us. I have a slightly adjacent question, which is that does the utility have to pay property to, will this improve the property value and such improve the grand list value of the property and increase property taxes paid to Berry? Will any of our local municipal options taxes apply to the profit they're making on the solar electricity they generate at the site? I'm sort of looking for monetary budgetary benefit to the city here.
My answer is I don't know, because as the interim assessor, I haven't had to do any kind of changes, because the only solar panels we have are on people's roofs. So this is a lot different. And so I guess I can get those answers for you probably in the spring. Once I can get my arms wrapped around all of the implications of a solar field coming to the city.
And Janet, that may be a question we can ask Encore. That's something they should have in their own calculations, so.
Right, I don't know if they come and they ask for tax exemption, I honestly don't know, and I could ask my property value and review district coordinator as well, because this is another fast track to understanding all this.
Thank you.
Are host fees possible?
Or what?
You know, I wonder about that.
Hosting
I
fee.
don't know.
So because they're putting this in the city to if there's a nuclear power plant that gets located, there's big fees paid for hosting. I'm just wondering if that's another angle.
Well, I'm doubtful on that one.
At least make them work and come meet with us.
Yeah,
Next
no, I
meeting.
think we'll get it on the agenda that fits.
Yeah, so 45 days from October 13th puts them at the end of November, early December, so.
So ideally next meeting is is what it looks like.
Probably, and they're in Burlington, so my guess is they'll participate via electronic means. And I can encourage them to do so and have whatever they would bring to a meeting to be able to put it on the screen. I think that's probably the best.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything? Oh, sorry.
That's it.
Yeah. Amanda, your hand is up. Sorry.
Can I ask about another piece of the staff update?
Yeah.
Janet, can you tell a little bit more about the proposed demolition of the Italian Baptist church property and it's it's a nationalist, it's one of only a handful of national historic landmarks in Washington County. And it's
I totally dissuaded him and told him it would be next to impossible to demo. So he went home feeling a little disgruntled, but one of the things. Exactly. Said you as the property owner need to do a little bit more homework to understand what it is that you own. I don't have answers. But it doesn't have any parking to it. And he did ask me if the whole structure was historic or just the old original part is historic. Because he said what he could do is like if he turned it into a store or even a laundromat and you know, kept the columns in the front and the way it looked, if he could take down the add-on, which is up street towards the what's on Brook Street, small machine build business. If he could take that down, he could actually have parking on that side of the original structure. But I said, look, these are the people you need to go contact and find things out. So just like I totally dissuaded Connor Contracting, who wanted to come in and take down I forget the name of it. It's the round old granite shed next to Capital Candy. They just thought they were going to come in and pay $25 to demo it. And I said, no, you can't. You know, it's got to go in front of the DRB. And they're going to say no, because the rules dictate that they're going to say no. So we'll see if he resurrects anything in 6 months, but those are the things that I charged him with.
I think it may be worth exploring making demolition conditional. You know, that go to the DRB across the city.
I agree
Something-
with that.
Something to, you know, consider in the future. So, you know, like things need to be torn down sometimes, but often it's not necessarily for the good of the city to see a structure that has use, you know, instead of going to somebody who will use it, turn into, you know, less value for the city.
Yes, I haven't, it's ironic that you say that because I have a property owner who owns up, it butts up against the cow pasture or the farmlands. I'm
Parent.
drawing a blank is the name of the street. But they own a rental house that the folks trashed and they want to demolish the house and the garage. And they're not sure if they want to rebuild or put back something, but I don't have anything that's outside of the downtown review district that dictates I can say, no, wait a minute, provide this, do that. Not even you must have a redevelopment plan in place for this. I could condition it, but I might not be able to get away with it, but they definitely want to take down this structure and do something different.
Oh, Rosemary?
So I think that's a good idea to make some revisions.
How did the house near Brook Street School get torn down? Without city approval, I assume without city approval.
No,
It didn't need it. That's what it comes down. Sorry, go ahead, Janet.
Yeah, it got city approval. Did it not go in front of the
It
DRB?
did. Wow.
Which one? Which
I
one? are we
thought there
talking
was a
about?
big, I thought it was the one that they tore down for parking. Yeah, it was next to,
Yes.
near,
Yeah,
near the Good Samaritan, but next to
Yes.
the school.
Yeah, like Janet was saying, that's outside of the area where, you know, the city has any say about it right now. So if we,
So
if we made,
DRB as well.
well, there's no
Yeah.
regulation. You know, that you go in at like, what is was it $25? Is that what you're saying? This demolition
Oh,
permit?
God.
Go in and get your permit. So right now, we just don't have, and so that's why I was saying, if we made demolition conditional citywide, then at least there's the opportunity to review before, you know, the thing is gone. The DRB was, it did actually review, that was before I was on the DRB, that demolition, but it had nothing to do with the, what was it? No, I thought I knew what I was going to say because I remembered it and then it just fuzzed out.
I'm sorry. I
It
came
was,
back to that.
no, it wasn't the demolition that they were reviewing. It was something else, right? It was like the,
Floodplain, wasn't it?
it
No,
did,
it
yeah,
was the site plan associated with.
that's what
the
it was. It was the site plan review. Yeah.
And so the parking lot took place of the demolition of the structure. So what essentially happens is when the DRB approved the site plan, they were essentially approving the demolition of this 3-unit building.
But also the demolition could not, if the DRB said we're denying it because like, you wouldn't want you to demolish the building, they would win on appeal because there's nothing, there's nothing in our ordinance that says that that's, that's a reason to not demolish.
If they could
So
tear
we
down.
expect, I'm sorry, David.
So they could tear down the building, they just couldn't build the parking lot if the site plan wasn't approved.
Yeah, right.
So you expect the Catholic Church is going to appeal then? They are appealing?
They did appeal, yeah. Right,
They
right,
did.
Janet.
Okay, thank you for a little history there.
Yeah. Good stuff.
I would be fully in favor of making demolition conditional across the city.
It may be a good thing to put into our group of short-term changes, which we haven't looped back around to look at. And it sounds like next meeting's getting kind of full. So I don't know if we're actually going to get to add more stuff to that one. So anyway, well, Janet and I will talk about what the pipeline looks like for meetings, but it might make sense to put that change into our short-term changes because obviously it has an effect on preserving housing units in the city. And then if you can just, pay $25 and remove housing from the city, it's not ideal. Anyway, anything else on SAF updates? All right. In that case, we can move on to our last item, roundtable. Does anyone have anything they wanted to make note of before we take off for the evening? All right, we covered so much already. Yeah, in that case, I would hear a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Motion from Amanda.
Second,
All right, second
Rosemary.
from Rosemary. All in favor? All right, that's everybody. Thanks, folks. We are adjourned, and I'll let you know what develops in terms of getting, whether we're going to have a municipal planning grant application as soon as we know. All right. Have a good
Great,
night, everyone.
thank you. Thanks. Good night.
Everyone. Hi, Joe.